Okay, hi guys. Today's passage is from Othello, William Shakespeare, and we're looking at Iago's soliloquy at the very end of Act 1, Scene 3, the very famous "Thus do I ever make my fool my purse." A reminder of the question that's the same, whatever the extract. Explore the significance of this extract in relation to the tragedy of the play as a whole. Remember to include in your answer relevant analysis of Shakespeare's dramatic methods. 25 marks. So I'm just going to switch another light on so we can see very clearly. Right. Okay, so a reminder then, this follows Iago's exchange with Rodrigo. That was in fast moving prose. Here in this soliloquy we see a return to blank verse, so just kind of make a note here, it's his soliloquy and it's in blank verse, and this shows us his ability to manipulate his language to suit the audience and purpose. Manipulate language. Okay, so thus do I ever make my fool my purse, for I mine own gained knowledge should profane, if I would time expend with such a snipe. Okay, so straight away we've got this really derogatory language used to describe Rodrigo. And what he's saying here is, I wouldn't spend time with such a snipe, such an idiot, if I wasn't gaining anything for it. So we see straight away, his total disregard to Rodrigo. Okay, so we know already that he's making false promises. He has no intention of actually helping Rodrigo get to Desdemona. Okay, let's continue. But for my sport and profit I hate them more. Okay, so here, my sport, my profit. This sort of gives us, helps us to understand Iago really. It gives us a bit of an insight into his motives. Of course, these are abstract nouns. So this whole thing, elaborate plan that we're about to watch him hatch and unfold, this is merely for his sport and profit, for his entertainment and his own kind of financial gain. Caesura. We've got a pause there. And then this very simple declarative sentence, direct, powerful verb, hate in there. So let's just get that down, short, declarative statement, and kind of quite powerful and simple language there. And this sort of quite simple motive really for all his plans, will be concealed by this kind of complex plot that he puts in place. Okay, and it is thought abroad that twixt my sheets he has done my office. I know not if it be true. Well, there's quite a lot in here, so let's look at this. And it is thought abroad. So this, we've got this kind of got a passive structure here. So Iago is not saying at this a point like, you know, I've heard from this source that, you know, he slept with my wife, he is cheated, you know, Amelia has cheated on me with him, but it's just like, you know, there is rumour. Okay, and this passive construction helps show us the power of rumour. So that twixt my sheets, so, you know, in between my sheets, in my bed, he has done my office. So here he's referring to his marriage as his office. And what did I want to say? You know, this is possessive language. My office. And it's a very kind of clinical way to talk about his relationship. You know, possibly as well, you know, maybe you could argue it's you know, it's also a bit of foreshadowing. He wants his office back, he wants his rank back from Cassio. I know not if it be true, but I for mere suspicion in that kind will do as if for surety. So it's almost, you know, here it doesn't matter if it's true. He's showing this kind of, you know, relative indifference, really. He's not a man that is you know, that is acting out of sexual pride or some kind of jealousy. He's kind of you know, just, oh, well, you know, here's a kind of possible reason. Oh, you know, there's a rumour that he slept with my wife, so, you know, I'll take my revenge. It doesn't feel terribly convincing, to me at least. So I'm kind of putting here, you know, is this just a kind of convenient excuse for the plan that he puts together? You know, it's almost that we have you know, a number of reasons. You know, we have the, you know, he wasn't made lieutenant like Cassio was. Now we have the, oh, maybe he slept with my wife. But it's almost this, you know, kind of layers of reason. You know, are they all true? Are they real? He doesn't seem to be that incensed. He doesn't seem to be that emotional here, if that were the case. Okay, so moving on then. I think, you know, also it's probably worth noting here that his kind of sense of self, we'll see this as we go on, just want to say it before I forget, his sense of self is really derived from his ability to manipulate others. Why am I saying that? Well, let's look next. Okay, he holds me well. So he was talking about the he theories of Othello. Okay, so Othello holds me well. He looks up to me. He respects me. The better shall my purpose work on him. So it's like he's basically like brilliant. Othello respects me. Othello trusts me. My plan is going to work even better. I can exploit that. I can use that. Okay, so we're noticing here he's able to exploit this trust. Okay, then he moves on to Cassio. Cassio's a proper man. Let me see now, to get his place and to plume up my will in double knavery. Okay. So this idea of Cassio being a proper man, this actually has a bit of a double meaning. Proper in the sense that he's you know, physically you know, attractive. He's a beautiful, good-looking man, and also a kind of you know, attractive or a kind of suitable target. A good person for Iago to use. Let me see now. To get his place, so to, you know, to basically become lieutenant and to plume up my will, so to kind of, this means to boost my ego, so to kind of make myself feel good and to improve my rank. In double knavery, so in double knavery it means kind of one stunt, two outcomes. Here they are, outcome number 1, outcome number 2. How? Questioning, caesura, pause, a question hanging there. Let's see, again a pause. I think here we're beginning to see his kind of malevolent nature, his power here. He's kind of he's ruminating, he's sort of taking on the role of director in this play. He's really kind of delighting in his quick wit. He's luxuriating in his ability to kind of construct a plan quickly. He's like, oh, what shall I do? How shall I bring? Yes, I think I'm going to use Cassio. And also this kind of questioning. This questioning helps to kind of draw the audience in. We become privy to his plans. And in that kind of plotting, we get this foreshadowing. We get this awareness of how our tragic hero is going to fall. Okay? Right. After some time, to abuse Othello's ear. Let me move up a bit for you. Okay, to abuse Othello's ear. Okay, so he will, kind of a little bit like Lady Macbeth, really. That idea of kind of pouring pestilence, abusing Othello's ear. He will whisper, he will use rumour, he will use insinuation, he will use his many incapable linguistic powers to persuade Othello of Desdemona's wrongdoing. Okay, so this is quite a violent metaphor. So you could say it's a violent verb here as well. Okay, that he is too familiar with his wife. So after some time, to abuse Othello's ear, that he is too familiar with his wife. So that Cassio is too familiar with his wife. I suppose there's an irony here as well, isn't there? That he's supposedly seeking revenge for having been cuckolded himself by Othello, now accusing Othello of the very Cassio of doing the same thing. Okay, so I'll just put there. Okay, so describing now Othello, he hath the person smooth disposed. So he is a person of a kind of calm nature, to be suspected, framed to make a woman false. Okay, so literally. Sorry, did I say Othello there? I mean, this is Cassio. He hath a person and a smooth disposed. So, basically, again, we've got framed, kind of the double meaning here, literally to be kind of framed in Iago's master plan, and also, frame in his perfect physique that would, make it realistic, make it, conceivable, make it likely that this would be a man that his wife would fall for. Okay, so we'll just say that's kind of of Cassio. Again, you've got kind of double meaning. He's just, you know, a bit sort of self-congratulatory. It's kind of, oh yes, this will work, this fine figure of a man. Then he goes on to talk about the more. So, the more is of a free and open nature that thinks men honest that but seem to be so, and will as tenderly be led by the nose as asses are. Okay, so here we have it. Well, there it is then, Othello's fatal flaw, first called out by Iago. Interestingly, we notice that, you know, this is the problem with Othello, his free and open, trusting nature. You know, he doesn't doubt those around them. He thinks men honest because they just appear to be. He's unable to, so we can just say, you know, in a way, we're kind of looking at a certain, you know, blindness from Othello. He doesn't see that men are duplicitous. He doesn't consider that those trusted people close to him could lie. This kind of naivety or blind trust is what sort of gets him into trouble. And will as tenderly be led by the nose as asses are. Well, this is not so nice. This, you know, this idea of being led by the nose, well, we've got this kind of bestial or animal imagery here, whichever term you prefer, kind of, you know, likening Othello to a dumb, you know, quite, you know, dumb animal, a kind of, you know, ignorant beast that can just be, you know, led and manipulated for will. Okay, so really, you know, here he's making the point twice that Othello will trust Iago. Iago without evidence. Interestingly, you'll notice as well here that this is a problem with Othello's character. This is Iago's, you know, the issue that he exploits. This is not about racial prejudice. He will use that when it's useful to him. You know, we've seen him do that already with Brabantio. We obviously, you know, he was sensitive there. He wouldn't like the idea of his daughter being with a black man. So Iago was quick to use that. But racism is not the cause, or is not the motive that Iago kind of plots against him. Okay, so when that ends, we've got this kind of pause here, this little break in rhythm. And then we end with this really nice rhyming couplet. So I have it. He's got this, you know, he's got this idea. It's come to him. He knows now what he's going to do. It is engendered. So we've got these two very short sentences here. Let me just make sure I'm on the right bit. Yeah, you can see. Okay, so we've got this birth creation imagery here. Creation story. Oops. It's quite sinister. That really, you know, great tragedy springs from this simple idea. You know, and from that quite, you know, simple hatred, he brings him down. Hell and night must bring this monstrous birth to the world's light. You know, it's almost this kind of again a little bit Lady Macbeth, hell and night. We've kind of got this, you know, dark power, dark forces, you know, appealing to evil gods almost. Must bring this monstrous birth. Okay, what of this then? Well, for starters, put a little oxymoron there, and this is just pretty offensive, really. It's you know, referring to his sort of earlier sexualization of O&D's, Othello and Desdemona's relationship. You know, the idea, you know, he said earlier to Brabantio, you know, making the beast with two backs, forming something, you know, unnatural in their union. So it's kind of really just this, you know, desire to, you know, kind of expose, exploit, you know, bring them down. Is kind of making their union sound, you know, kind of base and repulsive. Okay, so hopefully going through like that, you can see that we've drawn out a bit of the language that's in there. We're seeing him as a master manipulator more than kind of once or twice in there. You saw that I was saying, oh, you know, this can be interpreted like this or like that. This kind of use of double meaning, quite, you know, clever. And this is him, you know, he's master of language, master manipulator, sort of fitting what he's saying to his plan. So where do you go from here then? So back to the main question. Explore the significance of this extract in relation to the tragedy of the play as a whole. Remember to include in your answer relevant analysis of Shakespeare's dramatic methods. Okay, so really we need to look at, you know, what was significant in this extract, and we need to identify aspects of tragedy in there. Okay, so I've done them for you, or possible ones. So what I did was kind of thought about different aspects of tragedy and thought about what I found out about Iago in this extract, and kind of tried to break them down into kind of 4 main points. So perhaps my first point would be Iago's detachment and hostility of nature make him a dangerous character. So just quick ideas, very scruffily written out, as you can see. My next idea was that Iago takes great pride in his power to manipulate others. I think he's quite Machiavellian here. He's sly, he's cunning, he shows a total lack of any moral code. My third idea is Iago's ability to bring about a complete change of fortune. Okay, very important in a tragedy that we have that change of fortune. I see him really, I think this is another, you know, word that we'd associate with tragedy. You know, he's the architect of calamity. He brings all of this terrible plan together. Okay, and then my last sort of point, my last aspect of tragedy was Othello's blindness in his trust of Iago. Okay. So what you might do now is thinking about planning that question. Think about if these were broadly, not saying they would be your topic sentences, but if these were your kind of 4 ideas, say perhaps for 4 paragraphs, or you could perhaps maybe pop it into 3 paragraphs. Think about what AO2 features that we've looked at in that extract could you pop under each one of those headings. Okay, thanks very much guys, I'll see you soon.